morning, everyone. My name is Simeon Adalbay, and I've been working at the museum for 28 years. Let me get my notes there. So this picture is our museum that was opened in 2005. And it was funded by the Republic of China and Taiwan. This and Mara Mayong, it's a women's cultural center. So this is our motto. Past determines the present and the future. In Palawan words, it's Masela Arar. And this is what we believe. In the belief that no song, no performance, no action of creation can be properly understood apart from the culture in which it is found, of which it is a part, and it is the purpose of this Palawan National Museum to identify, contextualize, records Palawan past, present, collection, identification, documentation, preservation, interpretation, education, research, and exhibition of cultural and natural property of the people of Palawan. So these were like the first people that helped the museum, and museum is the oldest museum in Micronesia. It was established in 1955 with expatriates and some Palawan leaders. And then so these people here, these people helped build the first Palawan National Museum traditional meeting house. And this is the first artist historian that was hired to be a museum artist in residence, and he painted a lot of old Palawan cultural activities. So he became very popular in the 70s to the 80s. He traveled around to promote his art. And that is when Hera Owens was one of the expatriates, was director for Palawan National Museum. And this is one of the founders, Thomas Hermansau. He was also the first Palawan to become an administrator in the, I think it's, so this is Thomas Hermansau, this is his wife, this is Dark Gibbons. And these are a group of women that also helped the Palau National Museum program that started in the 70s. So the museum is committed to ensure the conservation and protection of our natural cultural heritage through establishing standard of excellence to museum theory and practice. So we also conducted conferences. So 1994 is when we had a first World War II conference. It was like 50th anniversary of World War II. So we had people from all over places to come and make some presentations. It was very good. So these are women. These women are in Palau. It's a matrilineal system. So women are very important part of cultural activities. So when the Bai was built, they were there to perform their traditional dances. And every year we conduct women's conference. So there is no men cultural center. There is a women. So every year there is women cultural centers, and they are very strong, very vocal about social issues in Palau and also politics. So during the Compact of Free Association, there were many times that we went to vote for the approval of Compact, and the women were the vocal about this issue of nuclear, nuclear issue. So they have their center every year. They bring politicians and government leaders, and then they ask them, talk to them about social issues that has to be addressed. So Bella National Museum was established in 1955 as a non-profit organization, and then it is the oldest museum in Micronesia. And Bella National Museum is a dynamic institution for preservation, promotion of national heritage, exhibition of natural, cultural, social, historical values, and development of arts of all levels. So this here was our first museum, and this was 1955, and it is one of those old Japanese building. And then from 1955, it was renovated to this one. And these were our founding members, founding fathers of the museum, and American patriots and local leaders. Then 1973, we moved to this old Japanese. That was a weather station, which RU building is next to this building. So here is our new museum. Some pictures of the outside, and also our traditional men's meeting house of the museum. And I also work there as a media collection manager, also an artist. So this is one of my projects I did there. And I want to show you these pictures about Pai, because before there was a museum, before there was a library, Pai was a learning institution. And what you see here are symbols and illustration that every village have their own Pai. And those important history events are painted, they're carved on every beams. Also outside there are also symbols, also histories that relate to those villages. So what you see here is just some of the illustration you see of the Bai. And during the German time, they recorded over 200 of these traditional men's meeting house. Now we have only 4. That means all those stories that were inside the beams, those were illustration that tells about the history of those villages. You don't see them. But during the German time, Elisabeth Kramer, who was also anthropologist and wife of Kramer, what she did was took pictures and of the pipe outside and inside and the beams, and she recorded most of those illustrations. But the problem now is they were in German language, so now we have this committee that translate those illustrations and those stories that are on those pipe beams. And those are very important because the way they were doing this artwork is not one person does all the illustration. In Palau, it was a tradition that when you want to buy, you cannot build it by yourself, because people in the other village will think that you are so cheap, you don't have any money. So it was a custom that they will hire other people in the other village to come and build their house, their traditional men's meeting house. But there will be a group of older people in that village that will tell them how they're going to do those work on the pipings, those illustrations. So it's not one-man artwork, it's a group of carvers who will be carving those artworks. So the illustrations are very amazing. Because now we don't know anyone from Palau who can do those kind of illustrations. It is easy for us to just look at the steel object and then copy on paper or on wood. But to do this kind of work is hard to do. So these are more of the illustrations. And inside the beams, you will see those illustrations on the pie beams that every beams have a very important history. And there is that particular family in that village that is there. He was like a librarian or a historian who is there, and people in the village, when they want the story or from other village that comes, he is the one who tells them about the stories and those bibeams, and also those illustrations, the symbols they have on their back. So these are all pictures of Palau during the German time. Right now you don't see this kind of landscape anymore. So these are some of the illustrations of bibeams. They're very interesting because I don't know how they think, and then they come up with this kind of design and symbols. And okay, we go to our ethnographic collection. So the aim is to collect and preserve objects and work of art that are relevant to the purpose of Belawan National Museum, and interpret those collections through exhibition, research, as means of educating our culture and traditions. So these are just few pictures of our collection. I think in Micronesia, Palau, Yap, and Guam were doing pottery, and in Palau it was women who were doing pottery, not men. Men were carving platters, building buys, canoes, but women were weaving baskets, and they also made pots. So they were not in great quality, so during the Japanese time, they stopped making pottery. They started using pottery from Japan, and from 19, I think it was 2011, when we got some funding from Taiwan to start this pottery making in Palau, because it has been so long that we want to revive our pottery making. So there are some Palawan who now are very good at pottery. And this one here is also a painting from Charlie Gibbons. This one is, I think this one is also in all the collection we have in our pottery. Also donation, we get donations from leaders and from people who like to donate to Belawan National Museum, but not all donations are, so we have some issues with getting some donations. We have very limited storage, so some collections we get, we just put them in the storage and we don't bother to accession them. Like for these ethno collections, also for media collections and for library collections, we have very limited storage. These are also purchased items for the collection, but it's a replica, so the value is not as good as the original items. But we still have people who know how to carve this object. And this is just a small section of our collection storage, and you can see, maybe you can see some of the objects that we have that are not the Palau collections, but from different parts of Micronesia and the Pacific. And I work at the media collection, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the media collection. This section goal is to document, collect, produce media materials for public and educational use through all means of media channels as TV, radio, internet, outreach program, public display, and to preserve media collections for Palau generations to come, to establish the media section as a national media archive. 2003 is when we started this digitization of our collection with the IMLS funding, and we partnered with the PCC, Palau Community College Library. So some of our digitized collections are being shared with the community college. And video collection of VHS are digitized in-house. The reel-to-reel film are being sent out for digitization because we don't have equipment in Palau. And also audio cassette we can digitize, but reel-to-reel and LP are being sent out for digitization in Taiwan and US. And there are over 25,000 slide photographs, and we have negatives, rare etchings of Palau, and Micronesia from 1700s, and motion picture films, as well as 1,000 hours of unedited video documentary films. So these films are being digitized. So museum has over 250,000 digitized images now, and 1,000 hours of digitized video, and 3,000 audio collection, and some of these audio collections are from the 1979 Palau Constitution Convention. So this is our media collection storage. It's very small. The space is not made for so many collections in there. And when we went and got this collection from the Ministry of State, and they have a media guy who follow the president and all those VIP people taking the pictures. But when we received them, they were infested, so we have to fumigate them. And then the photographs are they're not compiled, they're not labeled, so that's an issue we have from getting donations. Not just for this Ministry of State, but other people who donate their pictures to the museum are not in the best quality because they keep their best quality and they will probably give us what they don't need. So these are other issues when you get collections from other people. And we have a Japanese volunteer who helps us with digitization of our video collections. Also a volunteer from New Zealand. He was very good with media because he was doing media work in New Zealand. So when he came to help us, he was doing very good with digitization of media collection, audio. And these are just some of the equipment we are using for digitization: cassette, and slide, print, negatives, video, and also artwork. So this is for artwork, for audio, slide, and video. Okay, research library is to collect, catalog, and access documents and written works about Palau and Micronesia, and to a lesser extent, wider Pacific. It works in coordination with other sections of the museum to fulfill overall museum goal and collection, preservation, and exhibition of Palau cultural and natural heritage. So these are pictures of our library, just a small part. And we have like 5,000 items in collections, which includes books, published, unpublished dissertation, newspaper, journals, field notes, maps, plans, and posters, small collections of rare books, and also house the National Museum Archive. And then for membership, Research Library has been working closely with the other local libraries and promotion of libraries and librarianship. And then we go to our museum programs and activities. The aim is to encourage the production of quality art, all varieties in Palau, document Palauan art, artists, and build links between artists and community, business world, so that the art can be more viable, meaningful, self-sustaining. So, 2013 is this teacher from Taiwan who came and taught us how to do this pottery. He was very impressed because he never expected that in such a short time, Palauan can go back and do this kind of work in the pottery making. So he was very impressed. So during those times, two pottery center were set up, one at the museum, and then the following year another one was set up in Babadao to accommodate those people who are in Babadao. So, and this is their very first work that you see on this display. And also after they did their work, we have this temporary exhibit room where we do annual display of artwork. So we display some of their work here. So this is what they do. They go out and get the clay, and then they bring them, do some cleaning. After cleaning, they will fire them or low fire. If they want them in colors, then they have to do a high fire. And all this equipment was also funded by Republic of China, Taiwan. Kiln is very expensive, but machine that we are using making pottery. I think in the old days they didn't use kiln, they just do open fire, so it was more like a low fire pottery. Also summer time we have a pottery for kids. So these are kids, every summer we have activities for kids. So this summer, every summer we have kids to come and learn about pottery making. So, and then later on, they can sell their work to friends and parents. So this is how kids enjoy their activities at the museum. Also they learn how to do jewelries, painting, paint with watercolors. So every summer we have this artist from Hawaii. Her name is Margot Vitrale, and she comes every year to conduct artwork for summer program. Also, we have this weaving program for kids, and they use like coconut leaf, and also these fibers. These are from from the tailor shop, and then we can collect them. Have kids do this, learn to weave, make like a floor mat and other things from these materials. Kids also come to the museum to learn about traditional dances, and then later they will perform to their friends, and sometimes they go to Palau night, every payday night they go perform and they get paid. So it's very helpful to have kids active in some local activities. On natural history, this is very interesting because it's a new added section to the library, to the museum. And we also conduct tour. So there is one section at the museum that we planted all these medicinal plants, and these are very important plants because women go out and collect these plants for hot bath and also for first child ceremony. So we have the labels there that shows which plant. So kids young, they can know these plants. So when they help their parents to go and collect the plants, they know what they are looking for. Also medicinal plants. We also have medicinal plants at the museum. It's a botanical garden. And then we also tour kids into our library, our laboratory, and show them how we dry these plants. So they will know, and they also help these natural history people to go out and collect plants. Also we have ants, display birds and plants. And ants are also a very important part of environmental indicator because when there is no ants, something is wrong. So it's very important that we have to know about ants. And there are like Singapore ants that are invasive and they're not good. So it's good to know about ants. Also we have field trips, kids, we talk about plants, the medicinal plants, and then we go to the village and see this tree, the actual tree and actual village, so they will have an understanding of how the village was. So these are some of the pictures I took when I went with these kids to go and do the field trip with the kids. And on our exhibition, we have like timeline exhibition, and so when we open the museum, we set up this exhibition about a little bit about the museum and also about Palau. So there is a timeline how Palau came to be. So there is a legend about this giant club, and then there is this small animal that started piling up these rocks, and it became a land. And then this shrimp evolved into human and gave birth to the people. So Palauans believe in evolution. That's our thinking. And then, so our timeline started there from Palau time to whalers and traders to Spanish, and so Germany, Japan, and to TT time, and now to the Republic. So that's how our exhibition works. So these are just a few pictures of our exhibition. We also have this display about, because you don't see this anymore in Palau, these traditional homes with a platform on the side, and this platform they bury their people inside. And if the person who lives in this house is not part of the family, they put a different color of rock, like from coral rock, there to indicate that this person under this rock is not a member of the family. But he was probably married to this family. So, and then also men were doing the platters, so we have a display of platters. Also canoe house. And Spanish time is when Palawan started to learn how to write ABCD, learn about religion. So here is the display of Spanish time, the German time, Japan time. And I think it was during the Japan time when Palau was overpopulated. The population went up to about 60,000. And after the war, when everybody left except the very old people and the babies, the Palawan family adopted them, the population was 5,000. Right now we have about 20,000 or 21,000 Palawans in Palau, and 12 or 13,000 are Palawans, and like 8 are foreigners. So it's still a small population. I think most Palawans are going off island for school and other job opportunities. And this is our temporary exhibition. So last year we set up this exhibition about cycle of life, and then we tour the people about how the cycle of life works. When you are born, your mother is a new mother, so she will go through these rituals, bathing, and then she will come out all dressed with a family heirloom decorations. And then the husband family will put that net around her neck to show that the appreciation for a new mother and the baby. But we call it first child ceremony, because only when we have the very first child we will go to the ceremony. And then when they grow up, if the girl becomes a woman, then she will do tarot passport, and the man will do fishing or buy. So this is how the system works back then. And for our local products, at the museum we have a gift shop, and this is what we usually promote is local products. So we have books, we have living products, carved storyboard. Carved storyboard is like a Japanese guy who came to Palau back in Japanese time. He saw all these pimps in Bai and the stories, and he was so impressed that he decided to tell these Palauan people, like maybe you can make it to a small plank of wood and then sell them to the tourists, Japanese tourists. Because during the Japanese time, there were many tourists from Japan coming to Palau. Also, Palau was like the only island in Micronesia or in the Pacific that has a Shinto shrine. So every other year, the priest from emperor comes to Palau, and what we heard is from our other parents is when he comes through the village, through the street, nobody can see him. They just go down and just listen to the horse going to that place where they do the worship. They never saw him. They just only hear the horse passing through. And a few years ago, they built another Shinto shrine in Japan, and then they came and took that holy rock. So the mission of the GISIAF is threefold: support, fund museum activities, promote Palawan art and craftsmanship through sale of arts and craft, and inform to get public through sales of information like books, pamphlets, poster, magazine, and things related to Palau, Pacific, and Asia region. These are more pictures of our. Also, we do stamps. I make stamps for our post office. So this is one of the stamps I did 2 years ago, and that's when Palau also made stamps we make. Natural history is to compile comprehensive specimen-based checklist of flowering plants, ferns, fungi of Republic of Palau as foundation resource for conservation, sustainable management of natural area of the country, as well as determining the uses of many plants during life cycle. So what they do is go out to the village and interview people, and then ask them. So what they do is when they interview people, they get their name and they want to make, and then when they write it up, they want to make sure that these collections, database about this particular person are not lost. And then we also, it's like their copyright. So when we already published the book, so when some people use this recipe or something, they have to recognize this person who was helpful in giving out the secret recipe. So these are, I think you recognize this. This man was here for many years in Ponape, and then now he's been going back and forth in Palau to help come up with the ethnobotanic book. And this is in our storage where they keep all those specimens. Also, natural history, we have this entomology and birdymology. And this is about bird. Bird in Palau is getting very popular, very important. There's an offshore bird and then there's a forest bird. The forest bird helps plant all these trees all over the island. So it's very important that birds are safe. So we have a law that conserve hunting, especially below pigeons, because there are a lot of people like to go hunt the below for their food. So we have a conservation law that protects those birds and other birds. Also shoreline, the interesting about shoreline birds is most of these birds don't live in Palau. They travel thousands of miles away. And then they come to Palau to this one area and they feed themselves, get very fat, and then they continue their flight to other places. So this is how these are some of the birds we have, shore birds. And this is where they fly. Not just in Palau, but they go all over to Siberia. So if you have time, I can show you a video about these birds because we just did a video about these birds. Because there is some developer from China who want to build like bungalows on this shoreline. And these shorelines are very important for these birds. So yeah, this is more about museum is every year we do bird report to the national government. So every year we make this report. So these are just some of the pages that shows our report that we produced. Also, we tour people inside and outside about the museum. So you see these people touring inside and outside. And also kids coming to tour the museum. And this is the aerial view of the museum right there. That's it.